So we're finally back. So just listen to a song I wrote, but you don't care about that. But yeah, let's get into building this PC. I have RAM, CPU, motherboard. It'll be an office kind of build, but whatever. And I went ahead and bought a GTX 760, around $60. So I'm not 100% certain what the total value of the PC is. At the moment, I'm guessing around 200 and something. But we're gonna need a screwdriver, Phillips head if possible. If not possible, get a Phillips head. Thermal paste, because we need to thermally paste the CPU. All right, right here, these two things are called RAM slots. This is gonna power your whole motherboard, power your CPU. This is gonna be where you install your CPU. And this is where you're gonna be installing your GPU. Pretty easy. Right here is your SATA ports where you're gonna be connecting your SSD and if you want an extra hard drive. This motherboard is older. So newer cases that have this USB 3.0 connector will not have any USB 3.0 connections through this motherboard. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is grab my CPU. You want to grab it by the edges. That way you don't touch the pins with your grubby hands, I guess. Here you can see I have an i5. I don't think you can see that, but okay. So this thing right here has this little latch right there. You see? If you push down, you can hear a clicking sound, kind of. You're going to push down and pull out, and that will basically just pull back. So you can insert your CPU. Now, don't be afraid to put some pressure on it because you probably will not break it. Maybe your CPU will be a little bit different, but usually most CPUs have a golden triangle on one of the corners. This corner has it. If you zoom in on your motherboard, it also has a triangle. Now that triangle is going to line up with this triangle. Lining up that triangle and just gently and slowly just lay it down. Okay, so you're just gonna bring this down, make sure it goes underneath this screw right here, and it'll slide down when you bring this down. Bring that down, let it slide, and this is gonna feel like you're gonna break something, but you won't, I promise. Just push it down, and underneath this hook, and you're good. You just want to get a good thermal compound. You see like those dots right there? I think you're supposed to squeeze until one of those dots is empty. So that way like you know exactly how much you have. I'm gonna say that's what it is. If not, just squeeze a good amount on there. I mean, not too much, not too little. It was like half of a dot. I'm gonna be reinstalling this CPU fan from the same case that I got it from. And this is the connector, which connects right here. See that? It literally says fan CPU on the side. Just read it, you'll see it. So I'm gonna place this to go that way so it can just connect properly. So that means that this is gonna be here. It's gonna line up to the screw holes right there. They're lined up. Your screwdriver is needed at this point. So let's start with this one. And these might be a little bit tough for them to go in at first, but you should be fine. There we go. That one went in. And now this one. And just to make sure everything's nice and tight, I will tighten them the same way I did. Right here, it says CPU fan. That's where you're gonna connect your CPU fan. Just align these little holes with the little pins. Just don't break a pin because then CPU fan is installed to install the RAM. I only have 2 slots. A lot of motherboards come with 4. There are some that come with 2. If yours has 4, let's say this has 4, right? So there's 2 here and there's 2 here. You'll want to put your RAM on this one, skip this one, and put it on this one. That's how you should do it if you have 4 slots. Since we only have 2, it really doesn't matter because we don't have an option. That's why it doesn't matter. What does matter though is this little notch right here. And then on your, right here we have our RAM slot. Right here we have our RAM that has this little like line right there. And right there, there's a little bump inside the RAM slot. So in this case, this is gonna be like this. And you just wanna go in there, and you're gonna push down on both sides as hard as you can. Like I said, you're probably very strong and you can probably break the motherboard. you probably will not break the motherboard. Do you hear those clicks? I don't know if you heard them, but there's some clicks there. Same thing, you just want to line it up, and you should hear 2 clicks. You're basically done. You could plug it in right now and it would work. So your case will usually come with motherboard standoffs. If they're already installed, there's nothing you need to do. If they're not installed, you just need to like screw them in to wherever you're going to be putting your motherboard. And one thing that I should have said, the back of your computer that should have been on your Optiplex or whatever, it's called an IO shield. You want this out of the old one, or if you have a new motherboard, it'll just come with your motherboard. We're just going to install it like this, line it up, and make sure the ports, these ports, line up with however your ports are positioned. However they're positioned, because if not, you're going to have to take it out again, which isn't really a big deal. You just want to snap it into place. Okay, motherboard standoffs are good. We're just gonna grab our motherboard. Usually I just grab my motherboard from the top. I just grab it from the top of the fan, and it should be fine. I mean, line it up with the standoffs and line it up in with the back as well. As you can see, the motherboard is lined up here. All the ports should be visible, and we're good to go. Now, you're just gonna screw down everything. Okay, so motherboard looks like it's stable enough to be in there. Okay, scratch the table, why don't you? Now, there's a bunch of cables on here. Before I install anything else, I'm going to wire a lot of this stuff. Your case might be a little bit different, might have a couple different wires, but basically it's all gonna be the same. These tiny ones, yeah, they're for power and other things, such as LEDs for the front of the case. This is a Molex, which controls a front LED strip. This one goes to this fan, which is not supposed to be there apparently, but that's where your drives are supposed to go. But I'm just gonna leave it there because I cannot open the front of this case. This blue one is gonna be a USB 3.0, which this motherboard doesn't have, so we could just rip this out. This one is a HD audio, which will connect up here, and this one is for the front panel, the front USB drives. Not that difficult. I'll explain where everything goes. Get rid of these ones first, shall we? So here we have a USB drive, or a USB connector, which will power or will help us get some USBs up in the front. Right here, we have 2 connections for USB. I don't think it really matters. It probably does, and someone's gonna say it does, but it really doesn't matter. What really matters is you connect these the proper way so you don't break them. So just make sure all the little holes align to where the pins are. Slide it in. This one is audio, HD audio, and this one was labeled USB and USB, I'm just gonna put it over here, USB 1, it says, and this one is audio. Again, make sure they're lined up properly. This USB 3 will not be working because we don't have USB 3 on this motherboard. This front fan that I installed, you see this little thing? It's right there, fan system 1, it says. Luckily for me, it does have only 3 pins or 3 little holes, and there's 3 pins right there. So we're just gonna, you got a fan connected. Front fan. Now this case didn't come with a back fan. Since we don't have an actual fan that came with the case, I'm going to be installing this old fan, but there's no mounting holes. Make sure also like you can connect it. It is somewhere. It's right there. So I'm gonna put it down, and you should see another one that says fan system. This is how I'm gonna do it. And then we can just trim these off. Now we could just stop there, or we could do another one. This is the power switch, right? These small ones that I said there. So do you see those little connectors up there at the very top? That's where you're gonna be connecting these power switches. Yeah, I'll just throw up a chart. We could have done some cable management here. We could have brought these through here and then up through here and then just connected. That's what I'm gonna do probably. There we go. The power supply will be the next thing that we want to install. Now 500 watts should be enough to power the system. Now you see this giant fan that's right here will be going down. Since this case has a dust filter at the bottom, this fan will be facing down. So you're gonna line it up right here in the back, facing down, and all these cables is what we're gonna connect next. Your power supply is now attached. Hit it and B. This thing is gonna take forever. All right. So this motherboard connector is just gonna connect to this big one right here. You're gonna wanna align this. It has like a little thing that you can push down on. You're gonna align that with what it has right there. But since we want this to look decently nice, we're going to have to route it through a couple holes right here. And then we're going to attach it. Next cable we want to connect is the CPU one. It's literally just labeled CPU. That one is up here. We will need to route this as well through the back. Cable management is kind of a preference. If you guys don't really care about cable management, I'll just teach you where all the connectors are. Basically all of this other stuff, it's just for your SATA and for Molex. Next thing we're gonna do is connect our SSDs. So as you all know, we got a ADATA SU650, but basically to connect this SSD, you're gonna take a cable like this, data cable I guess, and you're gonna install it into one of these little 4 ones that I told you. These ones. I'm not 100% certain if it matters which one, but I'm gonna just install it into 0, route this through the back. And I just placed mine right here because I didn't. The SSD is gonna need power to it, so one of these will hook up into here as well, like that. Now you could cable manage all this if you want to. If you don't want to, you can just slam all these cables in here. It's like, it really doesn't matter since this motherboard is kind of small and the case is so big. So you could cable manage this all nice and whatnot, and I would actually recommend you to do that. But for the sake of this video, I am not. The only thing to install is the GPU. Every case will be a little bit different, but mostly they're gonna have something here to hold the GPU. So that's 2 screws right here and right here. You're gonna take those out and put this to the side. Install the GPU and you should just be able to snap it into place like we did with the RAM. Now, as you can see, we have this. We're just gonna install this back where it was with the same screws that we took off. Okay, I don't understand what's going on here. Everything is lined up properly, but clearly these screws do not want to go in. It's because the GPU thing right here, these connectors, they're bent upwards for some reason. So as you can see, that's how you install the GPU. The last thing we need to do is connect this GPU. It's the same thing with the CPU, the motherboard. Everything should just go in. Oh, I almost forgot. Remember this Molex cable that I told you guys about? This one right here? It powers on a little LED strip. Just grab your Molex wherever it is. And you figure out which way it goes, but it should just slide in there. And we got fan as well. Now, I'll zip tie these down eventually, but just for the sake of this video, this is not how you want your case. It'll be fine as long as we can test it out. Let's test it out. If it turns on, you're gonna have to like and subscribe. It's part of the rules. I don't make them, but I made that one up. With all our crazy cables in the back and everything in the front, this turns on. We have to give this video a like. Okay. And it didn't turn on. Crap. Maybe turn your power switch on. And as you can see that's why you need to cable manage. Okay, look, we posted, so looks looks like you're gonna have to give me a like and also subscribe. It's just how it is. So there you guys have it. Don't get your finger caught in a fan because I've done it. But before we even start gaming, we want to update basically all our drivers. Since it's a clean update of Windows, Windows is probably updated anyway, but I do want to update the NVIDIA. Okay, look, Microsoft Edge. Look. All right, we're gonna go over here to NVIDIA drivers, and then we want to find our GPU. It's a GTX 700 series. It's a 760, and search for it. You could also just install, I think, NVIDIA, what is it called? GeForce Experience. Keep your drivers up to date. But I'm just gonna do this. You can install this, the GeForce Experience, and it'll be good. It'll basically update it for you. Go. We're getting our NVIDIA stuff installed, and I will be back again because this video is really long. So there we have, it's installing the graphics driver, Real 100 with you guys. You should definitely